Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 6th season, we're looking at the Avengers. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Wheel Film Podcast.
And I'm Pete Wright. High five for Hill.
Today we're talking about minute 30. You know, it's only going to work if Hill's in the minute, Pete.
I know, but it works now as it's follow-out.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Today we're talking about minute 37, which begins with Erik telling some assistants where they can put it, and ends with Coulson telling Steve about his vintage set. Back on the show is Jay Shepard, the MCU location scout himself. Hello, Jay.
Hey, guys. Glad to be here with my big A today.
What a relief to have you back. Always, Jay. Can I just say, you guys, it's Commander Tupolev. It just hit me. I watched Red October, and there he is. It's Commander Tupolev, and now he's doing this whole thing with nothing. You guys didn't remember that he was in Red October either.
Yeah.
You didn't say anything.
It's been a minute.
I just wasn't expecting us to go to the Hunt for Red October minute.
A child. Why would they ever put him in charge of a submarine? All I'm saying. All right, we can go back to the minute.
What I will say here is he does seem a lot more jolly than he seemed ever in the Hunt for Red October. Erik is he normally this jolly? Is he this jolly because the Tesseract has been showing him truth, or is he this jolly because he's under Loki's spell?
It's probably a combination of everything there, but I'd say it's probably like a Loki anesthetic.
I think the Scandinavians are generally not a jolly people. I don't think they would describe themselves as jolly.
The
Skarsgårds are not jolly people. That actually is on their crest. Skarsgård, not a jolly people. That's what it says.
I don't know. They're not jolly, but they're playful, would you say?
Well, when they're under some sort of influence.
Because what's the which of the Skarsgårds? I always forget which one is which. Was in the Northman. That's not Bill. That's
what do they have? Alexander.
Yeah.
So I bring him up because if you go to Alexander Skarsgård's IMDb page, it's a shot of him. I'm assuming it's on some sort of like a red carpet sort of thing, but he's in his underwear. Pants. He's in like a tuxedo with no pants.
It's a classic Skarsgård. Yeah, playful, sociopathic. I don't know,
but
some
not
sort
jolly.
Of traumatic brain injury.
Just have to be somewhere it's warm.
Yeah, right. It's like, wow, is this what normal weather's like?
You guys, we should all take off our pants.
Oh, please don't start with the accents.
Take off, Andy, take off your pants.
All right, so we're in the same location, and I still question, like, where did they find this place? Like, it is seriously quite an elaborate place they've put together in just a few days.
Who would know?
Well, it's clearly it's a tomb, according to our extended scene that we'll talk about here. So it's 3 levels underground. I can't remember how far he said, but it's
3.
Yeah, so we're underground. We're in a space that is safe, where Loki is upset that he's hiding. So I guess they're trying to not give their location away. They want to. I don't know. Do you think that they know that this thing gives off gamma and potentially S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to figure out a way to track it? Like, what's their concern?
Actually, I don't think they have any concerns right now. You know, just being under the influence of the Gary Seven Eyes or whatever from Star Trek, right? That looks like the same. Right? Not Gary Seven. Gary Mitchell from Where No One Has Gone Before, when he got the power to eradicate people. Or iridium people.
That's probably a reference that Pete will get, but
Andy's not.
No
Andy
idea.
Can't truck with that.
No, Star Trek. No.
Star Trek.
Right.
I've seen the first 2 shows. I mean, the original and Next Generation. I haven't seen anything else.
Well, this was the pilot of the original show.
Which I've never seen. I haven't seen all of them. I haven't seen all of the episodes, but I've seen some of the episodes.
Seen them. Okay.
Yes.
I know they exist.
I've seen all the movies.
That they exist.
If it's in one of the movies, I know I've seen it. Well, anyway, I guess I didn't understand your reference there. As far as like the location they're in here.
The eyeballs. Their eyeballs are clouded over
the blue,
with the possession from the stone.
Yeah, that kind of silly blue.
Well, the Tesseract. We don't know that it's a stone yet. So.
Right.
Sorry, spoilers.
We have so many minutes before that reveal will happen. No, it's fine. Well, okay. We've been talking about this location. But you want to know the location?
Is that why you're asking?
Well, I do. Actually, let's talk about the location. We've talked about this location before because we've been in this location before. But as the person who gave us the information from your wonderful website, why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so this is a really weird place. It's Cleveland, clearly.
It is a weird place. Woo!
Looking at it. But
knew it.
Yeah, based on some other writings and stuff that I was looking at, the location is part of a viaduct that is under the Detroit Superior Bridge in I think it's like western Cleveland, right near the river. I think it's just a couple blocks from where they filmed part of the Winter Soldier driving in Washington, D.C. freeway traffic when the door gets blown off and Steve and everybody has to slide out of the car. I think it was right around there. But you can actually, it's kind of like a Seattle underground tour. You can actually, take a tour with a group of folks and they lead you down into this old part of like old Cleveland or something that, again, was a viaduct that obviously brought water into or out of the city near the Superior Bridge here.
Interesting.
Well, the Detroit Superior Bridge, I guess, which is also weird being in Cleveland.
Right. But it's not in use anymore. It's just an abandoned viaduct that they have here now.
And obviously but it's in obvious good enough condition that at least it was, 11 years ago that, it's okay to bring in, 50 extras and a crew of however many people to film, with lights and everything like that.
Right. Yeah. No, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was part of their studio set, actually, to begin with, because it looks like something, that you don't really get much of a sense. Actually, in the deleted scene, you get a little bit of that shot of Loki in a tunnel.
Yes,
but you really don't ever see too much other than just like plastic sheeting and some lighting.
Yeah.
I think before there wasn't quite as much of this setup, or it was, but we weren't in it. And so that was where Loki kind of sits down and then transports himself to go have his conversation with the other.
Yeah, dirt floor.
Yeah, it just looks like kind of a cement walled location. So nothing about it really stands out. It looks like one of those locations that they probably just picked because they could use it. And, Cleveland, I'm not familiar enough with kind of the Ohio film industry as far as like are there stages that they could actually rent to use in Ohio, or did they have to do all location shooting while they were there?
I don't know of too many stages. At least I don't hear about stuff being filmed at Cleveland. Like movies that have filmed in Cleveland have stage work done elsewhere, like Spider-Man 3, which had the final fight with Sandman, I think. Filmed in Cleveland, and there have been a couple others, obviously, that Marvel films as well.
Well, what's interesting is they're filming part of this in New Mexico, and New Mexico does have studios. So clearly, this location, they realized, it's probably cheaper for us to just film in this viaduct than to build something in a stage. So, they've got dark, dingy walls and a dirt floor and columns, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and they were able to go, a few hours away to Pennsylvania for the mushroom farm that they used as the underground shield bunker stuff at the tunnels, beginning of the movie as well. So,
yeah. Right. So, so to that end, it makes sense. Like, and, a lot of the times with the locations, it also boils down to which actors are going to be in a particular location. And we had Skarsgård and we had Renner both in the opening location, which also was in Cleveland. So a lot of this makes sense that, we don't want to be traveling these actors all over the place. They're here. Let's just find a location here in Cleveland that we can use. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, another interesting element that's answered here, which is I know we had talked about when we first had a scene here, is where did they get all these people from? Is Loki just, going around making everybody his slaves with the Mind Stone? And I don't know. I guess we get kind of an answer that they're S.H.I.E.L.D.'s enemies. I don't know. On such short notice, I do find that to be a little bit of a stretch, considering, again, according to the wiki, this is only days since the dark matter facility imploded. So they found a lot of people and have gotten a lot of work done in a couple of days. And I don't know how easy it is to round up this sort of rabble, but clearly they've figured out a way, because there are a lot of people getting a lot of stuff done here.
That's the power of Craigslist for you right there.
They're all gig workers.
or Fiverr.
Here, and then it's all just Uber Eats all the way home.
Exactly. The other thing that I found funny about this particular location, I don't know if there's a reason, but in this location, as you already talked about, Jay, Erik he's kind of created a sealed space for himself to be doing this work in, and he was not in a sealed space. In fact, he had a runway, which again, we're not exactly sure why, but the whole design was so different at the other facility. And it's interesting that here he's doing something, I don't know. I don't know if it boils down to now he has the answers, or maybe it's now he's not making this door for Loki, or what exactly is going on. But the whole thing is strange.
I always kind of looked at it as at the dark matter facility. You know, it's an actual facility for doing experiments, right? So it's kept clean. This is some like dirty underground tunnel. So he's just kind of put the plastic around, sense. To keep the dust and stuff out of his sensitive equipment, potentially.
Right. Yeah, that actually makes sense. Okay. So we see Hawkeye walk up, and he shows him on a screen Dr. Heinrich Schaefer. We'll talk about him more in tomorrow's minute when we actually see him in person, but he's a nuclear scientist. He works at the Department of Nuclear Science and Technology at the Schaefer Institute. And clearly he is a scientist who has tracked down iridium, chemical element number 77, and we get a little picture of that as well. And I found this interesting. The type of computer that Jeremy Renner is holding here is called a VT Miltope RCLC-1, Generation 1 Rugged Convertible Laptop Computer. And because I saw the little VT Miltope in the corner of that, I'm like, what is this? It's a company that basically designs pads and computers for military, for people to be using in the field. They're incredibly rugged designs, and all the network stuff and for aviation and everything, for demanding environmental conditions. And I don't know, I was kind of excited about seeing what this thing was, and I was looking at it online. Like, it's got a monitor. Like, it looks like a briefcase. Like, this laptop looks like a briefcase.
Really thick, yeah,
it's super thick, and the monitor actually swivels. So the way that he's holding it right now, he has swiveled the monitor around and flipped it up, so it's basically like a box, and he's holding it from the side. And then later he'll flip the monitor back up, and as they're talking with Loki, you'll see that he's kind of flipped the monitor around and is actually typing on it. It's very
like
cool.
This could get hit by like a snowcat and it would be okay?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, these things are intensely rugged. So,
which is good for Jeremy Renner. You see what they did there?
Oh, yeah. Both of you should be ashamed.
Right.
I tell you.
See, this is like, Andy, I don't know where you were, man. It's like we had 1, 2. There should have been a 3.
I know. I clearly was
trying
was not
to
paying attention.
Dig you out of the joke, unlike Jeremy Renner.
Dig me out of the snowbank. Did that help?
It was okay, but we can really tell that you detest this level of shenaniganry.
And he was down at Wind River instead, so.
Oh, man. All right. So how do you read this moment where they're talking about iridium, and Barton says, because Selvig said it's very hard to get a hold of, and Barton says, especially if S.H.I.E.L.D. knows you need it. And then Selvig says, well, I didn't know. How does that play for you? I've been trying to figure out, like, what is he saying here? Like, is he like apologizing? Well, hey, I didn't know I needed this.
Or is he saying that how would S.H.I.E.L.D. know because I didn't know? That's how I read it.
Even though I love this movie, there are so many moments, and because it moves so quickly through, like we were talking in the last minute, how it just efficiently, with economy of dialogue and movement and stuff, moves you, off the bridge, right? Everybody's got what they need. We're going to go surveil people. Here, same kind of thing. What do we need? We need this thing, and then I need an eyeball. It's like, Okay.
I need an eyeball.
It's the same kind of thing. Yeah. Everything just kind of moves, and there, points. It's like, all right, we're already on to the next thing. I'm just going to focus on this. Like, I actually hadn't even thought about that one too much.
I know. It's this whole thing, and this I end up finding when I come to scenes involving Loki in this film, I find them to be more awkwardly constructed, and I don't know if that's just the nature of the director trying to figure out what's the business we're doing with these characters to get them into a place where the heroes are going to need to be, like, or what, because this follows with this awkward conversation that Erik has with Loki. Like, he's super excited to see Loki when he shows up. He's like, hey, and then he goes off on like the Tesseract. And this is really where we start seeing like crazy Erik that we're going to get in Thor: The Dark World.
Because he's so excited about like the science of everything, right? I mean,
he's a little much.
He gets him drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's like he got drunk with Thor and never quite recovered.
I just missed that one. It must be a deleted scene when Thor actually looks at Erik and says, Erik, you're giving me a 12. I need about a 6. Can you? About a 6.
Oh, we need to go back and look at those deleted scenes again. Clearly, there must be one in there. So, okay, so we're hitting this point where there's a lot of the rest of this scene comes later, because there's also this extended scene here. And I suppose it's worth talking about this extended scene because there's a lot going on with this extended scene. We get more information about the relationships between, Selvig and Barton, Selvig and Loki, Barton and Loki. We kind of get a little bit of a moment where Barton is thinking about the fact that he didn't end up killing Nick Fury, which I thought was kind of interesting. We also get a sense of this more, we get a better handle, I think, of how Barton is kind of deciding to involve Loki in the plan to get the iridium. Like, he clearly has this plan to get this iridium, which he came up with very quickly because he just got confirmation from Erik. Like, this is the guy, right? And now he already has a plan. That aside, now he's also just quickly decided, I know how to get you involved because you don't want to be hiding in the basement anymore. And this is going to be awesome. And so...
glorious purpose.
Yeah, right. And standing right under the light, it's just like so perfectly like, wow, this is so constructed. It is just so put together. Anyway, what do you two think of the way that this extended scene gives us more of all of this?
It's a little much compared to the last deleted scene. It's a little much for me. I can feel why it was cut. However, it does answer some of the questions that we've had in previous minutes about Barton's performance.
Yeah.
And how he's saying, I'm not really great with a gun. Like I'm a bow guy, right? Like I feel like this is the minute that explains some things that we actually pointed out as shortcomings in earlier minutes. And yet I can kind of see why they got rid of it, because it's a weirdly constructed scene, that location, the way they shoot that hallway. And you're right, the construction of Loki's head down, big smile is just a little much for me. It's got weirdly over the top. I don't know. Jay?
I'm a big fan of Hawkeye, and I'm always upset that they made him a bad guy in this first movie where he didn't get to spend the time with the other Avengers, though. I mean, I see how it all fits together, and he's definitely gotten his time in other films and stuff like this. But if that deleted sequence was in the original one, I thought it would have been great. Because like you said, it does answer some of these other questions. It just gives you a little bit more of who is this guy that we only saw on scaffolding in the rain in Thor. So for people who wouldn't know who Hawkeye was at the time.
But, following on that, I also really like Hawkeye, and I feel like if this is the version of him that I would have gotten, like when he snaps at Erik with that, well, Radisson doesn't have 3 levels of lead-lined flooring between S.H.I.E.L.D. and that cube, I'm like, God, I don't know if I would have liked this version of him.
I love that he's a real points guy. Like he says, I'm a member of all of the loyalty clubs, and the Radisson has the best because of the shielding issue.
But see, I chalk up a lot of this extra behavior to these characters being under the influence of the Mind Stone, right?
Sure.
I mean, they're doing all sorts of things that they wouldn't normally be doing. So maybe it just heightens other elements of their personality or something like that. So normally he wouldn't be that. He wouldn't care that much.
Although I will say, Selvig's reaction to that is hilarious, because he kind of like laughs giddily and shakes his head and just like shrugs his shoulders and turns around and goes back to work. It's just, it really is like the start of Crazy Erik. It's so great.
Because the giddiness of science.
You're right. Science keeps him giddy.
So good.
Yeah, it is a strange little moment, and they trim it really efficiently where you don't even notice that there were changes to the location. By the time we come back to the scene at the end and in the actual film, and we see the whole thing about the eyeball, and we get to see him pulling out his bow, and I mean, it's a fantastic little retractable bow that they've designed that we get to see. But
yeah,
it's kind of we're in a totally different location, but they shot it in a way and they edited it in a way where we really just don't notice. I thought it played really efficiently.
Agreed.
Yeah, it does look like he has just turned around just outside of the Selvig's tent area to pick up his briefcase or
the bow
case.
Bow case, right. I thought it was interesting. Speaking of Hawkeye's bow, this was it's a custom-made collapsible double recurve bow equipped with a laser sight and some buttons which he can use to select which arrowhead in his custom quiver to attach to the arrow shafts. It's actually different than the compound bow that he had in Thor, and I guess I wasn't paying enough attention to the one in Thor, or I had just forgotten. But yeah, this is the different one that he uses here.
Are you guys real bow guys?
I'm not.
No, I like nunchucks.
You're a nunchuck guy. Fascinating. Okay.
I feel like I should have had a weapon pull when you said that.
Right. Jay
did awfully
the quickly. Right. No, I'm more into tweezers. Look, I am wondering how legit these collapsible bows are. Like, I know they exist, right? This isn't just a thing for the movie, is it?
Considering this is VFX, I'm pretty sure that this doesn't work in the same way.
But aren't there collapsible bows, like, in real life?
To an extent, I think.
We definitely see, like, because we get this extended scene, we can see that this is completely CG. Like, when he does his little move, there's nothing that happens to it, which is kind of funny to see.
I know that there, I can go to Amazon and I can find the SAS Recon Folding Survival Bow, and it looks sort of like this, but not exactly. It's not quite as, let's just say it's sufficient, if not completely similar. But I don't know, like, are they, I've always wondered, let's just say that Hawkeye loved this collapsible bow. I would love to know if it really would be something that a guy like Hawkeye would use. Like, collapsible anything often feels substandard, like subpar for use. Like, even look at Iron Man's briefcase suit. Like, he only really carries it when he's going on vacation.
Well, as we know, he left the research facility at the start of the film without any of his gear. So clearly he's had to take a trip to some secret base that he has somewhere, some stash, so that he
Andy,
could.
Obviously, it was in the Radisson.
The Walmart at the Radisson. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we did have one of our listeners did bring up an article that we will talk about very soon once he starts shooting arrows, because they referenced an article for us. The Avengers, Hawkeye, world's worst archer. Oh, that's it's going to be funny to look at some of that stuff. I don't know archery very well, so I watch people shooting bows and arrows, and they look very similar to me, unless some of them do it faster, like that guy on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so we get again, this is an example of the efficient and clever writing style throughout the film. We get the hook with a line about an eyeball that leaves us hanging. We have no idea what it means, but Clint needs an eyeball. It sounds like something Rocket would say, and Rocket would probably mean an actual eyeball that I want you to give me. But that takes us to our back to the bridge on the helicarrier. Now, what I find interesting here is we cut into the helicarrier following a random extra walking up some stairs up to the catwalk working area. And I'm not exactly sure why we come in this particular way, but that's how they chose to come into the helicarrier in this particular situation. If you look carefully, you can actually see Sitwell is down at the far end on the lower level. So I guess there's some connection, but I don't know. I mean, did either of you have any thoughts about this edit when we cut from one location to the next?
I didn't feel it was too bad since you're following a moving person, on the catwalk. It draws the eye, it draws the camera to the next cut with, is it Maria coming up behind Sitwell?
It is just Sitwell sitting there, and then we're coming in on the conversation between the two guys. Yeah, so there's no one behind Sitwell yet.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't feel that awkward to me.
Me neither. I mean, I felt like I'm jumping onto a busy bridge.
Yeah.
In Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Like in Star Trek?
Like in Star Trek.
Star Trek. You're back to the Star Trek references. Blue eyes, Star Trek bridges, all that.
Oh, that yada, 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 blah, blah, blah.
I mean, to your point, Jay, we are cutting on motion. We got that close-up of Jeremy Renner's face as he kind of then moves from left to right, and then we cut to that bridge as the camera's moving left to right, she's moving left to right. So there is, to your point, there is that movement, and it feels very natural to kind of like have that cut where you don't need, it does make it feel invisible. I just think it's strange that this is a person that we've never seen before, or perhaps we have, who knows? She's a background actor just working and going up the stairs on the bridge. But I guess it does give us that sense that, yes, this is a busy place. Everybody is busy at work. And so to that end, I guess it succeeds. I wonder sometimes when I see shots like this, is there something they could have put in that would have been better suited to doing that?
Always second guessing the professionals.
I mean, you might call her a red shirt. I mean, I don't know. You probably wouldn't, but Jay and I would.
I mean, she wasn't wearing a red shirt, but see, that's more of a metaphor.
Yeah. Right. Jay and I understand that.
You know who was wearing a red shirt? Natasha.
Too soon.
All right. So we come in to Sitwell. He is doing his face trace. Specifically, he's got on his computer, he's looking for Loki. And, as we've seen these, we see people looking for Loki, Erik, and Clint. Those are the three people that they know are that they're trying to track. And so this is what Sitwell's up to, and we see that his computer is, so far, he's having no luck. Everything is a no match. And that leads us to our conversation between Coulson and Steve about the trading cards. This is it's kind of cute. It does make me laugh because clearly everybody's in a hurry to find what they need. And then these two are just talking about trading cards. I do think that's a little funny, but it plays well.
And Coulson's fanboying with this superhero, we all might be. So there's, very much the audience surrogate action going on there as well, which I just love Coulson. I think he's so endearing, and of course, gone too soon, but then he comes back for 7 seasons of a TV show. So
well, and I think you're right. Like in terms of an actor playing the audience surrogate, I don't think you could have cast it better than Clark Gregg. Like, he's just such an endearing, personable, like human-looking person, right? Like he feels normal in just a landscape of extraordinary physical specimens, the lot of them, and so it's really easy to put myself in the shoes of Coulson, and I would be saying the same thing whether it was Chris Evans standing next to me or Captain America. Like, I'd be looking for him to sign something.
Yeah. Well, I was telling you guys here before the show, I've got my set of Agent Coulson's vintage Captain American trading cards, which are an EFX collectible set. one set clean of like, I think it's like 12 or 14 cards, and then the other set is literally has the bloodstains on it,
so
both front and back. It's pretty dirty looking.
It's just gruesome.
It's got some classic Captain America imagery from the comics with like him slugging Hitler and
Sure.
Oh, that's great.
So also to buy war bonds. So I would love to see Chris Evans and get him to sign my set here.
Yeah.
You gotta just carry it around. Just be ready.
You've got to be ready
for that random chance that he's going to show up.
I'm sure it'll happen.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we end right in the middle of this conversation between the two of them after Coulson says it's a vintage set. Took me a couple of years to collect them all. It's a great place to actually kind of end this mid-conversation. And yes, it is adorable, the fanboying. And, to the writer's credit, like the way that we come in to this scene in the middle of this conversation. I mean, it starts with Coulson saying, if it's not too much trouble, like it's just smartly constructed. And, they always say, get in late and get out early as far as when you're writing scenes. So this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up for today. Jay, tell everybody again about what you're up to out there.
Well, you can find my work at mculocationscout.com, where I am tracking down the latest locations from like Ant-Man, surprisingly, not the quantum realm, but the San Francisco stuff, which was not shot in San Francisco, and also
clearly not.
Panther,
if you see the street scenes, good God.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was pretty flat, right?
Yeah. Right.
You can also hear any of my podcasts at retrozap.com. We've got Superhero Suite. We've got Scarlet Velocity, a Flash podcast. There's also Enjoy Stuff, where myself and my co-host Josh, we try to find the fun in everything, talking about all sorts of interesting retro and techno things from our 50 plus years on the planet.
That's fantastic. So much great stuff. Thank you so much, Jay, for being here to talk about this minute today. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Pete, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about minute 38. So thanks as always.
Tomorrow, Andy, Sitwell's got a hit.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Message to the World by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.